But now it is time for the main event, Swerve Strickland, Kenny Omega. And this started with like 4 minutes until the top of the hour. And I imagine that TBS is pretty much like, this show ends when it ends. Like, you guys just go until they went like 20 past the hour, and it's just programming be damned at 10 o'clock on Wednesday nights on TBS.
We set these streams for like 10:35 so that like mainly like I could catch up, and it's not really offering that much buffer.
We finished this like honestly. It's like 10 minutes before the show's supposed to start. Yeah. So yeah, it's a wide range. So they get into things very early on. Swerve hit a Fosbury flop, but like came down with like his knees onto Kenny. Danielson's commentary was interesting here, where he's talking about how, you know, Kenny says he feels the best he has in years, but you know, you never want to tip off your opponents to how you're feeling. And you know, I went through all of this, and Shivani's like, must be hard to keep that secret. And Danielson's like, it wasn't a secret. Everyone knew I was screwed up backstage. And so his theory here is that Kenny's actually a lot worse than he's letting on to people. So we continue, and Swerve teases a vertebreaker on the edge of the apron, but is stopped, and Omega hits a snapdragon. Then he goes for one off the apron. It's blocked, and eventually he lifts Swerve for a German off the turnbuckle, throws Swerve, who rotates and lands on his feet, and Kenny just bumps right to the floor here. So they actually went through basically with this German spot, and Swerve instantly just rolls up and suplexes Kenny on the floor, follows with a 450 to the back, and then we go onto the top turnbuckle, and the Snapdragon is delivered to Swerve, rotating him over, so he lands on his front, gets a 2 count. Swerve then points to his shoulder off of the Snapdragon, and as Kenny goes for the V-trigger, he pulls Aubrey Edwards in front, and Kenny hits Aubrey with the V-trigger, and Aubrey is dead on the mat, and the crowd is stunned. I kind of like this spot as well, and especially like using Aubrey here, it gave the crowd that was much more shocked by the spot of using the female referee here. And it's also like the announcers are like, did Swerve pull her? Was he just trying to get attention for his shoulder? Like, they made this like plausible deniability for Swerve in the moment, but
and Swerve played it off really well. Like, this all happening so fast is, I think, really, really great timing from.
It wasn't the goofy
involved.
Just, you know, pull the shield in. It was, you know, he's signaling for his shoulders hurt, and it actually kind of like threw back to like Ishii in the last match, where it was like this guy was like in a lot of pain and trying to get the ref's attention. And anyway, so Aubrey's out here. This was a pretty good spot.
But Swerve's facial expressions, I thought, in this moment were like really perfect, in that like he kind of looked like he did it intentionally. Like, he was almost like sort of grinning, you know, at it. But you weren't really sure because it wasn't so overt. And, you know, in the moment, you are still left with a lot of doubt about whether or not he truly did this on purpose.
But by the end of this all, you kind of drew your conclusion that this was purposeful. So Swerve stops a one-winged angel, hits the house call, has the visual, but there's no referee, hits a Swerve stomp onto the edge of the apron, and then catapults Omega into the exposed turnbuckle after removing the padding, and the crowd starts to boo Swerve, which is amazing to hear that they got them to that point. And he hits another Swerve stomp as Paul Turner enters, and when Kenny kicks out, this whole place explodes, because I don't think anyone thought that he was kicking out from this. Omega ducks a house call, and he makes this incredible comeback. Snapdragon, V-trigger, Poison Rana, and then goes for the one-winged angel and is caught by a house call instead, and Swerve puts him down with big pressure for the win. Really great match that they ended up having here. There was one moment on the floor where Kenny went for that leap onto the barricade and slipped and had to regain his footing to hit the moonsault off of the barricade, but you know, played it off well of just just resetting, hit the moonsault. But man, this really picked up at the end. But this was largely like setting up like a Swerve turn by the end of this. He gets the win, and Danielson is just yelling at Swerve, "You're better than this. You're better than this, as Swerve chokes Kenny over the top rope with a chain. And the announcers did a great job of explaining that, last week Kenny used the line, "You're not the most dangerous man in AEW." That's Brody King. And this is Swerve regaining that moniker. And the final attack comes when he places the steps next to the desk, hoists up Kenny, and delivers a vertebraker through the desk. And then Swerve ends it by yelling, "I needed this. I needed this," as a callback to his opening remarks. As much as I enjoyed the match, it was all the character stuff with Swerve that I thought put this like just over the top, that I thought was really, really effective. And I would argue that just doing like violent spots with Swerve, I wouldn't have been so confident that the crowd would have necessarily turned on him, but they got the reaction they wanted out of this.
Yeah, well, it was a combination of the Aubrey spot, and then after that, doing something that wasn't necessarily cheating, but dirty in the catapult underneath the turnbuckle that definitely swayed the crowd towards one direction. And I thought they really played it masterfully. Again, the way Swerve was reacting to the Aubrey spot itself, I thought was just perfect. And I also love the fact that he didn't give it away in the body of the match at all. He played the rest of the match pretty clean. He didn't call, it wasn't like Nana was interfering or anything like that. He won it pretty straightforward, with the exception of what you might consider a dirty tactic in the catapult underneath the turnbuckle. But I mean, basically, you're leaving it into doubt whether or not he's actually turned heel by the end of the match.
Yeah, and they could certainly play it like he's going to play this up as just like, I needed this win, and it's not like this just like,
I feel by the attack, it was pretty well confirmed. I meant before the attack. You're kind of still left in suspense. And then he confirms it with the after the match attack, and then the hang of Kenny Omega. I feel that's pretty confirmed. But I thought as a quality match itself, like after Ciampa Fletcher last week, this felt like another contender for television match of the year in back-to-back weeks from AEW. This to me was every bit a pay-per-view level match between these two. I think living up to whatever expectation you might have of a match taking place between Kenny Omega and Swerve. To me, Kenny Omega still feels very much like he's at his old level, with performances like these. And I thought Swerve showed that he is every bit worthy of being in the same conversation of a Kenny Omega being at his best, with a match like this. I mean, he felt like Paige felt like a main character, but Swerve really felt like a main character coming off of this particular show, or at least I should say main villain. And of course, doing the hanging spot at the end here like this, draws direct parallels to Paige. So maybe there's a future match between those two again in the future. Or it could be both of them on the same side, but on the other end.
Yeah. I mean, this certainly puts Swerve again, if you're looking at the idea of Hangman wins this title and Swerve is now a heel, that's a really big match for if you want to go to that match at some point over the next several months. The one thing is that, yes, there's the potential for a lot of these title changes, but I just think their main event scene is so interesting. They have built up all these top characters, and yeah, you could see all these different pairings, and I think they're all interesting. And then you have this class right underneath them of your Andrades and Brody Kings that are sort of on that cusp. You have Ospreay in the background for now. It's just a really interesting main event mix, and I guess we will see what Omega's status is for Revolution, because you could certainly come out of this with a rematch coming, and just a question of when that would be. And you could see if all things are equal, of Kenny at least getting that win, and that could propel him to get the title shot in Vancouver. And they made this whole match about they didn't even give Omega that visual when Aubrey was down. It was Swerve that got the visual. So it's Omega has no claim to this match. They made it all Swerve, and then he decimates him after the fact. So it's some mountain for Omega to climb while he's away from the title.
Oh, definitely a rematch with Swerve, maybe on the agenda for Omega before he can challenge for the championship.
Double Texas death match at Revolution.
Ah, okay.
No,
but it might be big enough for Omega's opponent in Vancouver even. you know, like this feud, if they want to drag it out for that long. And with a spot like this, a vertebrae breaker through a table, like this could take Kenny out for that amount of time.
And Kenny going for the belt at Double or Nothing is like, you could certainly go that direction too. Like, I don't know if you have to do it in Canada, for instance. Like, it's
But if they're looking to maybe, like, if for whatever reason Kenny, maybe he's doing his like Capcom thing and can't make it to Revolution, this felt like the type of spot that would excuse that absence.
Yeah. But that's like a weekend he's away. So I mean, it's but he should sell this. Like, you should sell this for some time, is like, and by AEW standards, I mean, like, he should be off like for a week and then he's back to,
unless you like break your finger or like, I don't know, whatever Nick Wayne's injury was, you know, then you're off for like a year.
Yeah, I mean, there are those injuries to deal with. February on the Post Wrestling Cafe, we continue our review of Season 2 of WWE Unreal, including a big look at Seth Rollins' fake injury, which culminated in his appearance at SummerSlam. We're going to be looking back at Shinya Hashimoto with a special career retrospective on Rewind Away, plus a review of Extreme Rules 2011, as John Cena announces to the WWE audience that Osama bin Laden has been compromised to a permanent end. We'll also take a look at New Beginning in Osaka, TNA No Surrender, and new members can take advantage of a 7-day free trial. Go to postwrestlingcafe.com and jump on board in February.